Now that we've established our expertise with our secondary research, we are ready to begin conducting our primary research, where we are looking to answer questions that the secondary research couldn't answer and where we look to make the local connection to our Memphis area. So when we conduct primary research, we're attempting to create knowledge for our audience. And that doesn't always mean finding quantitative or survey research. Often it means just making our audience aware of resources that are already available. And so as we are conducting our primary research under quarantine conditions, ours is going to be a little bit different. So just as when we think about our secondary research and argument in general, we want to keep the appeals in mind here. So evidence, again, can make the appeal to pathos. This is generally qualitative type of evidence, anecdotal, experiential. This is the evidence that we elicit when we conduct interviews generally. And so this can be people's experiences. You might bring in anecdotes that prove a point that you're trying to make. Logos is more quantitative. This is where we're going to bring in the facts and statistics. And again, this can be elicited by doing surveys, either your own or for looking for organizations in the area who have already conducted surveys. And of course, ethos evidence is both quantitative and qualitative, generally bringing in the opinion of experts. So if you reach out to do interviews, this is where we really want to look for the absolute most ethical and authoritative, credible source that we can find to appeal to our audience. So as we think about our research, we take our secondary research and we try to think about what information is missing, what information do we need to pursue, and what local connections to the Memphis area need to be made for our audience. We then try and determine how we can collect that information. Do we need to conduct a survey? Do we need to look for local websites through government and organizations? Do we need to talk to experts at the university? Once we can determine those things, we have a list of questions and a list of sources by which to conduct our research. Again, we are conducting our primary research under quarantine conditions, and so we are asking that you do not leave your home in order to conduct any research. In fact, most primary research these days can be conducted over the internet. The one major exception is site surveys. If you want to include images of specific locations, I recommend that you look for images on the internet and include those in your essay. Instead, what we want to think about is those local resources that can be very helpful. Remember, the University of Memphis is a research institution, and we want to look there first. We also want to see if any of our local news outlets have conducted research and have information on our topic, as well as local government and organizational websites. Now, you can, of course, still conduct surveys and interviews as long as you're utilizing internet tools. So I recommend that you begin with the University of Memphis homepage. So if you look up in the right-hand corner, you'll see the menu and the little search button. So click the search button and then input some of your search terms. We have experts who work on urban planning, who work on business, who work on education, health and human services, family dynamics, almost any of the topics that you all are interested, the university has someone conducting research. So begin there, and if you find an expert, you might think about ultimately sending them primary research questions. I've also tried to provide resources within our Class E courseware. So if you go to the Class E courseware and you look at the course policies folder, you will find course resources. And under those course resources are research resources. Toward the end of that list of resources, you will find links to the local news outlets, the Commercial Appeal, the Memphis Flyer, the Memphis Daily News, the Tri-State Defender, and the Memphis Business Journal. Again, I recommend that you do a search of your search terms to see what information these news outlets can provide for your topic. In the Research Resources folder underneath the news outlets, you will also find several links to helpful government services. We have the City of Memphis, the Shelby County Schools, the Tennessee Department of Human Services, and the Memphis Community Resources linked there for you. Again, I also recommend a search of those sources to see if there is information to be gathered about your topic. Once you've looked through the university website, local news outlets, and local government and organizational websites, if you still find that there is information missing, this is when you absolutely want to think about conducting a survey or conducting an interview. The services you can use to conduct surveys are Qualtrics, that's through the university website, and many of you are already familiar with SurveyMonkey from either English 1010 or from high school projects that you might have done. As you conduct interviews, Zoom is always a good resource. Be sure to record any Zoom interviews you would do so that you have those available. The other easily accessed resource is, of course, the email interviews. And I always recommend that you try and keep your questions to a short list. 3 to 5 questions asked broadly will often elicit all of the information that you need. If you need further assistance as you're conducting your primary research, please contact me and or the University of Memphis Library Ask a Librarian. We often forget that research librarians are trained in information technology, and so they can actually be very helpful in conducting other types of research that we don't necessarily associate with the library. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.